Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome everyone to the G-Lew Show, changing the game with G-Lew and Deandra Chanel. We are back for another amazing episode. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Here we go.
You were riding with your girlfriend. I could tell y'all never seen LA. I was thinking we could be friends from the energy you're sending me. Caught you looking from a distance. Oh, baby, really sparked my flame. I had to make a move quickly, cause my dogs are out and all I want is you, yeah. We could burn this city down, baby, now that you're here. Let me show you how to West get down. Let's get down. Baby, it's your body for me, cause girl, you got it. I can tell you from the country, the way you got on that body, all the smoke in the air, they ain't got it like Cali. Ain't really that type of shit. These niggas act like they got it, should get Hollywood. I'm with my players, we don't talk unless we do a bit. Big stepper when I'm sliding, she see what it is. I can show you around the city, be your souvenir.
Just like that, we are back. I am G-Lew, and that is the beautiful Deandra Chanel, and we are changing the game. What up, Deandra?
How's it going?
It's going great for a Tuesday. How are you?
I'm good.
Right, all righty. Tell them what we got going on tonight.
So we have an amazing lady by the name of Calypso, Aranda, and she is to her own show, the Calypso Show. And she has had an extensive hosting career in recent, so I'm excited to hear that.
Okay. You're going in and out a little bit. I don't know.
Let me double check.
Okay.
I hear an echo. Hear that?
Yeah, that's what I say. I don't know what's going on. Let me see. On my end, everything's good. No echo should be on. Oh, okay. How about now?
Can you hear me better?
Yes. There we go. There we go.
You.
Alrighty. It was me. It was me. Oh, okay. All right. Now, there we go. We're good now. I'm sorry. Alrighty. Reboot.
Okay. So let us reintroduce this amazing woman who has been in the game, I want to say almost 10 years or a little bit more, when it comes to radio and having her own programming. So if we can please introduce the beautiful and talented Calypso Aranda to our show.
She's here.
Hello, my dear.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I was doing some research on you, and you are an incredible individual.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
See, the thing is, I don't like the stigma of the woman empowerment. Hear me roar, but you have like such an incredible story as an individual as a whole, not just a woman. From your journey to coming here, also to the way you started in radio and the way you started in hosting as a whole. Tell us a little bit about your background when it comes to career and how you started in the industry as a whole.
Okay, so just to rewind, I was 15 years in the game, and I started in promotions in a small radio station, a Spanish station. And I was just really shy, and I just needed to learn to not be shy or embarrassed to talk on the microphone, because I wanted to do voiceover acting. I wanted to be an MC host. I wanted to be on air. So I had to practice a lot in a lot of empty car lots as like a street, like in the street team at a radio station, as it was a Spanglish station at the time. So fast forward, I practiced. I read a lot of Spanish. I was in that station for like 5 years, and everyone else was on air except for me because of the language barrier, and I didn't speak Spanish very good. So I had to learn it, and my boss is like, hey, if you want to get on these commercials, you need to learn Spanish a lot better. It's sounding very choppy, very pocha, if you know what that word is. And I was reading constantly in Spanish, watching TV, radio in Spanish as well, and I just perfected my skills, and that's how I just got on air, and the rest is history. I was producing, I was doing voiceovers. I had a good run in this game for sure. I stopped doing Spanglish and I did full Spanish. And then after that, I was back to producing. I was doing mix shows. I was in charge of like a lot of DJs too at the same time when I was like running like mix shows for the radio stations. And then I just kind of took a pause and then just went to iHeart Media. And I was with a lot of the stations back there. Like was when it's iHeart Media, you're working for the home, and iHeart Media is like a lot of the the stations that we know, like Kiss FM, Big Boys Neighborhood, Coast, and then My FM. So Kiss FM became my home station where I was working for On Air with Ryan Seacrest, and it just was after that I took a hiatus. I was already hosting a lot of hosting. I was already doing voiceovers. I was doing a lot of MC hosting as well for like community. I mainly was doing it for the community as well. So then after that, fast forward, I got my own show, the Calypso Show. Linked up with Chicano Hollywood. It was a process. Season 1 is out. You guys can watch all the episodes. We have some great guests on there. I'm excited because we are in the works for season 2. And you know how all that goes. Things have to get approved. PR has to approve everything. So yeah, it's a little challenging, but we're going for season 2 now.
That's good.
That's amazing. Congratulations to you.
Yes.
I honestly wanted to talk about, so you've been on these really big platforms. You had a show on Dash Latin for a while, right?
Yeah, I did Dash Latinx for about 3 years. I was actually the voiceover imaging for all of the stations, Hip Hop X, the Salsa station, the reggaeton station. I was doing like the regional station. So I did like a lot of their voicing for the sweepers, the liners, and I had my own show, which was Dash Latinx, and I did that for a couple years with my mixer. It had a good run. It was so much fun. It's so much different than on-air radio. I absolutely loved it. I wish we could go back to that, but it's just so time consuming.
For anyone who's like aspiring to be an MC or a radio host, what would you recommend? Because you have this drive that it's very rare to find now. Like a drive where, because you've done Kiss FM, you've done La Raza, you've done Dash, like those are huge stations that people would kill to get into. What would you recommend for someone who's trying to get into the industry when it comes to radio, to have that drive to get into the big spaces that you've been in?
Well, what helped me a lot was being in radio and learning on air and forming my personality. I just took it as like a radio segment show. Radio is 5 hours? You have to have a lot of energy for 5 hours on the radio, right? So I pre-planned a lot, pre-produced a lot of my shows that I did on the radio. And if at the end of the 5 hours, if I was not tired, that means I did not work. Okay, so that's the same thing for on-air hosting. Like if I'm MC hosting like a concert or a festival, it took a lot of work. And again, all that practice that I did in empty car lots at like Nissan, Auto Square, all that. I did a lot of that, and like I was embarrassed to do it because my Spanish was really, really bad. And I had to work with a lot of jerks that were so mean to me. This is a male-dominated industry, and they were so mean to me, so bullied to me. Like they all hated me. Okay, I could have just ran like right away, but I didn't. I said no. Like I did not come this far just to come this far, just because you are mad that I'm here. You would think that a male person would help a sister out. Your hermana, like, oh, I will help you. But no, it was nothing like that. It was very cutthroat. I've met some very horrible people in this industry, but I'm grateful that I've always been level-headed to see who or what was good or bad, but I kept on going. And honestly, I have to thank like all the free events that I MC host to help me practice. And I just love to hype people up. I don't know who it was, but somebody told me that I was like the female version of Lil Jon one day, and then I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't even like that. But honestly, it's very rare that you see a female host
This is true.
hyping things up because it's a male dominated industry. And I've been very blessed to host so many arenas, so many concerts, so many festivals. I really just enjoy the ride. You just have to have fun. I think that's what the main ingredient is. You just have to have fun. And I read the crowd. I think that I even want to take up comedy like classes just to get more funnier on stage because I think that kind of helps a little bit. I'm always learning. I'm always learning, and I think I'm gonna do this till the wheels fall off, just because it's fun and it's effortless and I can just do it with my eyes closed. Now I could.
How important is the DJ MC dynamic? So I was watching an interview that you did on Dash where you were telling a story about a guest that you had on the show that like was just it was like pulling teeth interviewing them. And your DJ was like, let's turn the music up because she's trying to cut this short. So how important is that dynamic with with the DJ and the MC to work hand in hand on the station?
It's so important because you guys have to get each other and you guys have to have good chemistry and good communication. One has to lead and the other has to follow. And I'm not trying to like sound too dominant, but I had to lead always because I was always preparing the show, I was always producing, and the DJ played such an important part of it, which was the music. He had to set the vibes. And I'm so grateful that every single DJ that I've ever worked with has been so dope, so awesome. We get each other, and we worked for years. I work with so many DJs, and it's so important because if you guys don't connect, then the show's gonna blow. It's gonna blow. It's like if you were not giving that like lively, energetic to your co-host, it's the same thing. And he has to save you sometimes when you're just like, oh, okay, what do I do? But thankfully, I like to talk a lot, and I can just gravitate to something else and be like, all right, Mr. DJ, go ahead, play that next song.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about your producing credit. So how did we transition from becoming an MC to a producer? Because that's like a huge deal.
Well, I was always producing because when I first started in radio, I was producing for free for on airs. I was and there's different levels of producing. There's like the music producer, there's the TV show producer, and then there's a radio producer, okay? So let's just elaborate on what radio producer was. I want to say that I was a radio producer, and that is getting the content, getting your sources, writing the scripts. I had to write a lot of commercial scripts for a lot of radio stations, and just learning how to write, doing a lot of research, and how you said, "Oh, I was doing some research on you." That was 24/7. I was constantly on my phone, finding like what favorite food they like. Like for if I was going to do something for Seacrest and we're gonna get some big name artists, I gotta be on top of my game and know what the latest is with them. And that was just constantly me. I was just always working, and it was just very passionate for me. And thankfully, Instagram is very helpful because you can follow the actual artists that are verified, and you can actually just go off of there, and they have their website. So I literally, I'm so glad that I even took a dab at producing because to be in front of the camera and behind the camera, it just goes together like peanut butter and jelly.
Mhm. Have you had the privilege of discovering any newer artists that kind of blew up throughout your career?
Like you mean like, oh, this person's gonna make it big, or I help somebody, or
Like you helped somebody, like there was maybe an artist that you hosted for. There was an artist that you played their music and they just ended up like skyrocketing to the top.
I wouldn't say skyrocketing to the top, but maybe more like well known.
Mhm.
Um, you notice that a lot of independent artists don't want to have their music streamed on the radio anymore, right? They're more independent. They'd rather get the streams off of the, the podcast or these other radio mix shows. So that's why I had a lot of like what I did on Dash Latinx. We brought in a lot of artists, independent artists that were, barely making it, and just hearing their music, the DJ just throwing their music on there. um you know what? I have such a bad memory that it's just like it was so many. It was so many. Um, there's a lot of like reggaeton artists right now. We had Chachi from New York. We also had who are those reggaeton artists that we Playing Skills? I don't know if you know who Playing Skills was. They are big time producers right now, and I was great. They were so dope to interview, but they were already big. But I'm like, you're coming to our show, like that's really really dope.
Yeah.
They're just the most memorable. We had a lot of independents from outside of the network, like from Tijuana, from New York, a lot from Miami too. So, and that was like the DJ part of it. Like he helped me like bring in all these artists as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because they I think back in like the early 2000s, they had like this different sound of reggaeton. It wasn't really like reggaeton. It was kind of like that group Aquid a little.
Yeah.
With the twist of reggaeton, that they had a real dope sound. I remember them.
I miss it. It's very different now. I do miss the old school reggaeton. That's why I fell in love with radio, and that's why I wanted to work in the reggaeton station.
So how did you make your transition from because you said you went from Spanglish to Spanish to English, correct?
Yeah.
How did you make those transitions?
Well, at the time, the station was flipping markets, or flipping formats. I'm sorry. They flip formats, and when you flip a format, you're fired. Or you either go down to like a producer or something. And I've lived through so many of those. Luckily, I never was fired. I was just taken off air, so I just stayed that way. So then I said, you know what? When you know something's off, you just got to always have a plan B, right? And that's what I always did. I was just always on survival mode, and just my backup plan. Like, I know I got to work at a different station. And to be honest with you, I never did a full-blown English station. It was just a Spanglish station. And that's where it ended there, with Dash Latinx. And then when I went to iHeart, I was just a producer, and I did some like voiceovers for like the Spanish and English market.
Oh, that's great. You, like I said, that your career is it's honorable to me, just because to see a woman, because you have like this really interesting immigration story too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about that really quickly, but to have that story and that background that you have, and to come into this country and like take over like the market like that is amazing. So before I kick it over to my co-host, do you mind telling us a little bit about your immigration story?
Well, I think it's just very common to share at my age, like everyone's same story. I came here in the trunk of a car, and I crossed over 3 times. The first time I was a baby, and I had a fake birth certificate because I looked like a white baby. I didn't look like a little Mexican paisa baby. So the second time I came through the desert with my mom, and the third time was in the trunk of the car with my mom and a couple other female immigrants in the back of the Cadillac. And that's why I think I'm a little claustrophobic, because I remember it very well, just being there, just not moving for a few hours, and just asking my mom if we are almost there yet. And it was, I remember it very, very well. I just remember being at the house where all the immigrants were at. I feel it's probably some little trauma that I still have to heal. We all have to heal from our traumas. But I remember the smell. I remember the way everyone looked. And I just remember just being with my mom. It was very scary. It was very scary. Not something a 5-year-old should be seeing at the time. But it left a lot of insecure imprints in me, just always having to look both ways everywhere. And that's just basically it. I never went back. I stayed here. I became an American citizen because I was going to take on a government job, and I just never ended up doing. I did entertainment instead. So see how funny the world works.
Yeah. Well, it was more than likely destined, for sure. So I'm sure my co-host G-Lew has a few questions he has for you. Take it away, sir.
Yes, thank you, thank you. It's an honor to have you on the show, and I was excited hearing about your story and what you do, because radio is something that I always admire and grew up in. My father was in radio as a kid. I grew up. My father was in radio, so this is something I grew up in, like back in the day, and just hearing your story and all you've done, I have the same aspirations, and it's just amazing to have you on here and hear your story that you've been successful doing that. What would you say? I don't know how long you actually been doing it, but I know, like you even said earlier, how radio has changed now so much. What do you think? How it's changed, like good and bad? Because radio has drastically changed from what it was before. Like you said, now artists do their thing kind of more independently. They don't depend as radio as much, even though radio is still important and everything, but it's changed drastically. What would you say the changes are that you've seen, maybe good or bad, in radio?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I want to tell you a little bit about like when I learned about radio. Radio was just for community. It's just for community shows, like for the military, right? For
Right.
to set the word out for information. I got into radio because I wanted to be inform, inspire, entertain, and I wanted to help others. And that's my four things that I always bring with me all the time, whether if it's radio or something else. And when I got into radio, it was so different back, what, 16 years ago? It was the prime of radio. Radio is not the same anymore because a lot of your local markets, for example, in LA, you're going to grab an on-air jock from like New York or Miami or
Right.
just some
Right.
other, and they don't know LA market, and that's the frustrating part about LA. When I used to produce for the station, the well-known station, she's from New York, and she's trying to learn the lingo of what that station was, and it was a very Latino-based station. So I had to like find things that she could understand, and she just was not tapping to her market in LA.
Right.
And it was very frustrating as much segments as I tried to come up with. And it didn't help that she wasn't trying either because she had like 10 other markets that
Right.
she had to do a show for. So radio for her was just like, okay, just give me the script and I'll talk. So that's what's lacking in radio right now, the personality and the passion and the drive, because you're sitting there and you're just talking. You're not really talking to the people on the other side.
Right.
When I did morning show, that gave me a run for my money. I was the entertainment host. I did the news segment and I did the sports and the traffic and the contest. But I had a co-host that was broadcasting live from Mexico. So you can tell that was very, very frustrating for me. But hey, I wanted to get on the radio and the
Right.
pay was great, and the talent fees were awesome. So that was the good part of radio, hearing the music and understanding and seeing these artists just come up and just going to these concerts. But then the bad part of radio is that it's kind of boring now. If you really think about it, it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
The hosts are not from here.
Right.
The segments are just kind of like, what are you talking about? Just shut up and put the music on, and that's why everybody's listening to podcasts, to streaming radio, so I think what you guys have right now, it's good. It's actually probably better than radio. Yeah, radio probably pays better, but you know what the bad thing about radio is? You're always constantly wondering when you're going to get fired.
Mm.
Okay, so it's not stable. How did I make it for 15 years? I don't know, but I broke up with it and I had to leave.
Right. Right.
I knew it wasn't going to give me any more than it already got me. When I was at that station, I could do everything with my eyes closed. I was already bored. I was not challenged anymore. So that's one of the reasons I left radio, because it was just mundane. It was just boring. I was like, I can do this, I can do that. I like to be on the go, moving. I like to be moving around. And after COVID hit, radio just took a big dump.
Yeah. I'm sure. And like you said, now I think another bad thing is, like you said, they've just taken away from the community, the local DJs that, like you said, know the area, the city. You know what I mean? You grew up on certain DJs that you knew, and you knew they were, and that's rare now. Like you said, you got DJs from other places, and they do those, what do you call those when they, like you said, have a show that they're in New York, but they broadcast in 100 different markets, and
Yeah.
it's, I forgot what they call it, but
Like they're syndicated, or they're just
syndicated, that
yeah.
part. And I just think that takes away. Some of them are good. I get it that you have popular hosts and all that, breakfast clubs and all that, right? But
yeah.
but it takes away from your local DJs and people that, you know what I mean? And that's what like you said again, I think that takes away, because when we grew up on certain DJs. Now, luckily, you still have like the big boys and a few people, but you grew up on certain DJs. Like, speaking on Kiss FM, like back in the day, I grew up, like, I don't want to say my age, but like Rick Dees was was big. He even like came to our school and did a big thing, like when I was
See, that was the community part of that. He came to your school to talk to the community. They don't do this anymore as much.
Right. So that's missing. That's a big part that's missing in radio. Who would you say, if any, were like some people you looked up to in radio? Did you look up to anyone in radio that you like admired, or like not wanted to be like, but really respected in radio?
Thank you for asking that question, because I was going to throw that in anyways. Luscious Liz was always like my inspiration. Luscious Liz, and it is Liz. You guys remember that when Big Boy did that super with her? Luscious Liz and Big Boy were always like the two people that I've always admired because of their hard work. When I worked at that station in the same building as Luscious Liz, I met her in the bathroom, and she was doing her morning show, and I was getting ready to do my runs, the sticker shops at the time. And I think I was like 2 weeks in that station. And I looked at her, and she looks just so beautiful with no makeup on, like no nothing. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my God, you're Liz." And I was like, she's like, "Hi, homegirl, how are you?" I was like, I'm here because of you, right? And she's like, "Oh, stop it." She is just so genuine the way she comes off. And I didn't get a chance to tell her, how much she inspired me. But fast forward, when I'm working at iHeart, I bump into Big Boy all the time. He's always waited on the elevator for me. We have them the same, morning shift or whatever.
Right.
But before I get to Big Boy, I end up having to interview Luscious Liz on her big thing that she has, Waterfall, right now. And it's this big movement. And I ended up interviewing her on a panel. And at the time, I had like a cosmetics line. And I gave her like a little gift. And I finally got to tell her, I said, I just want to thank you for inspiring me, and just for just being how you are. And you're the reason why I got into radio. And I got to interview you here for like a full hour, and I got to have this great conversation. And she like was like, "Oh my God, stop it! Don't, you're gonna make me cry,"
Wow.
And it was that was one of my best moments that I've ever had. It's priceless. It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with talent. It was like, look, you're the reason why I got into radio. And look, this is where I'm at now, And then fast forward, I'm working at iHeart with Big Boy, and Big Boy would always come to the station like, "Hey, we got food, come help us eat, or I need some help doing some socials or just anything, and everyone was like a family. And that was the cool thing about radio, that everybody was family, no matter what station you were at. If you were the top number one, we still got you, you know what I mean? Right. So I have to say it was Big Boy and Luscious, for sure.
Wow, that's beautiful. I got two more questions before I turn it back over to Deandra. I want to ask you, being that you work for, speaking like we just spoke on all the changes in radio and how the bad things, but being that you work for iHeart, I'm sure is a good thing, because they are like the top dogs in the radio space now, right? And I'm sure, like you said, you have a lot of people in that building, different stations and a whole bunch of different things. I know they have the iHeart, like it's a big family. They have big conventions and annual shows. So how is that working for iHeart though? Being that they are, the big dogs in the game. That's my first part, and the second part is how important is it for you, and how do you enjoy going out into the community? Because I know you do a lot of stuff, event shows and broadcast different places. How important is that for you as well too?
Well, a typical day at iHeart Media was always fun. It was never boring because one day watching Snoop Dogg come from the hallway, and then Lady Gaga from another station, and we all got to use the same bathroom. Nobody's got a special bathroom. So
Right.
a typical day was just like, hey, I need you to walk so and so to the elevator. Can you do this? I need you to take some pictures for what we're doing an interview. So I remember. I think I remember one time I was taking like a 10-minute break, and I was in like the sales office area, and I was so eager to eat like my sandwich because I needed like 10 minutes. And Master P is sitting right behind me. He's like,
Wow.
yo, that sandwich looks so good. I
Wow.
cut in half and I gave him the other half. He's like, thank you, girl. Thank you, girl, for looking out.
Wow.
So it was just those moments that the internet does not get to see. I have so many of them. I'm not the type of person to take pictures with the celebrities. I never really was that person. I don't know why. I just don't
Right.
want to bother them. I just don't want to feel like I'm fanning on them. But the
Right.
very few that I have, I keep dear to my heart and my camera roll. But they're some of them are really humble and some of them are not. So that was a typical day. And then the concerts, oh my God, don't even mention the concerts because they were so draining. Like literally, I had to walk certain people up to the stage, and I have to like make sure that they get on stage, and then talking to their PR, their managers, making sure everything's good. Sometimes you have to even like pick them up from the hotel to get them to to wherever they're throwing their concerts at. So it could just be anything. And I had a lot of fun. I don't regret any of it. Just that it was very tiring. And then going into the community stuff, I'm always going to be an avid server to my community. I love serving my community. I think that, our voices are very powerful and we have to use them. I don't like, I know it's very wrong to, take a picture if you're like helping a homeless person. I cannot stand that. I'm sorry. If I'm serving my community, I am just doing it to myself. I don't need you to take pictures of me or
Right.
me showing you that I'm doing this because how does that other person make them feel?
Right.
So that's the hard part about that when I see that, like, oh, you're just trying to get a clout, just shut up about it and just serve your community.
Right.
And when I say serving, I've gone to the schools before. I've I used to be like a lecturer for like the Academy of Radio and Broadcasting. So anybody that wanted to get into radio, I was a lecturer for that, and I was just very passionate to do that. I have so many plaques and diplomas from like all the cities, and but it's priceless when you're actually doing a toy drive or Thanksgiving turkey drive or a back to school drive or just anything, to be able to give your time, for the people that need it, basically.
That's beautiful. One more thing, Deon. Before you go, do you ever think about, because your story, like I didn't even know about your story earlier, what Deandra said, how you came over here and like no one would ever know that. You know what I mean? You have such an amazing story and you're doing so many great things, and it seems like you're a person that likes to help people and give back. Do you ever see yourself maybe showing people a way, whether they want to get in radio, entertainment, whatever, sharing your story or ways, or helping people maybe make that happen, or showing them a way to do it?
You know what? I do get asked like, oh, I want to pick your brain a little bit. I want to learn how to do this. Can you show me? And I want to say that I've earned my stars and stripes in this. I have trained myself. I've done a lot of research. I learned a lot. And I'm just like, okay, well, how much you gonna pay me? I'm not doing this for free.
Right. Right.
Yesterday's price ain't today's price anymore. My time is valuable, but no, don't get me wrong. If a younger generation, younger kids want to learn, I will give you my time. For the children, we have to be there for the children. I love kids. We have to be mentors to them like now. It's so crucial. They're role models right now. Who are they? We have to be the role models for our children.
Right.
And it starts with you. So that's why with the children, there's no price for that. I will give my time. But for anybody that's trying to get into it, like I'm like, okay, do you want to meet? We could do Google Meet, or and I've done this before. I've helped other people out, giving them advice, when they want to get into voiceover, or they want to get into MC hosting, or like script writing or whatnot. Now that I have the show, I've leveled up a lot more. So, pricing is big, a lot more now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's up. She said you got to pay for this. It ain't nothing free.
No,
The kids though.
I love the kids.
Right. That's right. Thank
So before we get into a little bit more about your career, let's actually talk about your show a little bit and the concept of your show and how you came up with the concept of your show.
Well, the show is called The Calypso Show, and trust me, I did not choose that name. As a little backstory on Chicano Hollywood, big ol' shout out to Johnny Morillo from Chicano Hollywood and the whole Hollywood fam, because isn't that where we met, Deandra, in one of the events?
The Elevate Conference.
The Elevate Conference. I was hosting that one. Did you take notes?
Amazing job, by the way. I was there the whole time.
Thank you so much. I had a great co-host. Dave, he was there, my ride or die right there. He was just like, I'll just do whatever. When you co-host with something, that's another story. So backtracking, Chicano Hollywood, I was already at the wit's end of working at the station, the LA station. And I said, I love doing this, but I need to do on-camera work. I met Johnny at another event, and we just like kept on meeting up with him and his daughter at this restaurant in Burbank, just talking about the show because he was looking for a host to do a video VJ segment on the Chicano Hollywood. And kind of like a VH1 Daisy Fuentes type of thing. Do you guys remember that? That's how old I am.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, or MTV3 back in the day. Well, he needed a female host, and I said, I'll do it. I can do it. I'm there, So we're talking about like ideas for the show, and it turns out to be like, well, you know what? Why don't we just make this a talk show? So his ideas were going somewhere else, not doing that show anymore. And I said, do you think I could do that? Or what do you mean? Like, what are we going to call it? So I'm spending like 2 days trying to find a name for this show. And he's like, why don't we just call it the Calypso Show? You're the Latina Drew Barrymore. And I was like, oh my God, are you serious? I did not want to call it that because I did not want to be highlighted. I don't know what the word is. I've always been a co-host. I've never been a lead. And this time you know what he said? He's like, God, you're so humble. Stop it. No, stop it. But you're so humble. And that's so great of you. But let's call this the Calypso Show. And it's your time now. It's about time. And we're going to do this. And I think you're going to be great at it. And I was like, okay. And I didn't have to think about it, you guys. I did not have to think about it. I knew all the training that I had, the 10, 15 years of radio and hosting. I knew I could do it. Yes, it's not that easy, but transitioning from that to your very own show, it was such a great experience. We filmed for 3 days, 3 episodes a day. It was just so tiring learning. I had a writer in the show. The guests brought the show to life. I was just hosting. I was just talking, and I'm grateful that happened. And our main sponsor, Firme Mezcal, was just such a huge help, and he believed in me. I remember just pitching the show to like everybody, sending it to everybody, and I knew it was gonna happen. I just didn't know when. And right when they tell me, okay, we're gonna film, we got it, we're good, and I was like, oh shit, it's go time. Like I have to bring it. That was very nerve-wracking because I'm used to like talking in front of like thousands and thousands of people, but now I have a live studio audience, and like it's so hard because they're like, okay, stop, okay, let's do it again, stop, let's do it again. That was very hard for me to adapt. And I'm just usually a one-person type of let's go. They're like, we need 3 for safekeeping. And I was like, okay, I can give you 3 of these. That's not a problem.
Yeah. So how does it feel to actually challenge yourself in doing like a show with a live studio audience and where you have to continuously rehearse and do things over and over? Because I'm like you say, you're a one shot person. Like once it's done, and I get it because it's just like we got things to do. Let's go. We let's get it. But when you have to have the patience to redo this over and over, how does that make you feel?
Well, we didn't have time to rehearse, really. It was just like, all right, we're going to wing it. We're going to wing it. And I think the very frustrating part is that everybody thought it was a podcast because it's not a podcast. It's a show. It was a live studio audience show. What podcast has a live studio audience? No, not really. Not really a lot, but we had an actual audience that was sitting there and clapping and applauding when they were told to applause. And everyone, all the audience was so amazing. Some of them did the whole 3 days, and we sent out a casting, for it, and they all showed up. And that I have to say that gave that show life, was the audience, studio audience. And I'm very, very close to a lot of them that were out there. They're like, when season 2 comes, I'm there, and that's so nice to hear, that they got your back for season 2.
That is dope. Have a live studio audience. Wow.
And congratulations on season 2, by the way.
Thank you. Are you guys going to come out for the show?
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. I definitely want to come.
You should.
Yeah, just send us the info. Like we have so many things coming up with some of the guests that we've had. They're like, come to this and come to that. We're like, oh, we're down.
I know. So, yeah, I'm there.
So let's talk about what I find extremely good about you is that you have this humbling spirit where all the things we've talked about you having your own show. We've talked about you doing big time radio. And one of your highlights was recently hosting an event at the Santa Fe Spring Swap Meet with some of your favorite things.
Santa Fe Spring activities.
Okay.
Is that a real moment there?
Somebody else.
That was dope.
I love it. I've been hosting there for years now. Yeah. And I just, it's so much fun because I love to people watch. I mean, the fights break out, but you're far away from me. You're nowhere near it.
You're in a safe place up on stage.
Good. I'm good.
30.
Shout out to the Wire Entertainment for always booking me and always believing in me, because he loves how I work. He says I'm very professional. He says you bring such a great energy to the crowd. They respond to you, and you're a female, and again, male-dominated industry. They try to bring a guy in, and it just didn't work out. I'm like, no, I can do this by myself. I don't need somebody to back me up. Santa Fe Springs, I have so much love for it because a lot of the artists that I presented on stage is artists that I grew up listening to in the 80s, in the 90s, 2000. And to be able to listen to them back when I was younger and being able to present them, it's just so humbling, And not only that, but they're talking to you like normal people. They're not, they're big, huge, artists and whatnot, but they're just people like you, and they love how you do the work. When I'm introducing them, I have to do my work, my research. Not too long ago, I had Brian Abrams from Color Me Bad. And
seen that.
he was out there and he's like, oh my God, Calypso, you introduced me so good. You deserve a raise just for that introduction. And I was like, I'm just doing my job, bro, and Santa Fe Springs just loved him so much. They wouldn't let him leave, because he was just so loved. And not only that, but just other artists that were there as well. I have to say that Santa Fe Springs is one of my top favorite places that I love to work at because the crowd, oh my God, the crowd is such a vibe. They're always responding. Not only that, but it's Chicanos, you just gotta love it. You just gotta love it.
We love Santa Fe Springs swap meet. Next time you're there, you gotta let us know so we could be there to support you. But me and my crew, we love Santa Fe Springs too. You know what I mean? So shout out to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you say that working with this has just been my experience, especially on this show, working with the older school artists is a lot easier and better, and it's a lot more carefree, because it appears that they appreciate the fact that people still love their music. They appreciate the fact that people are still coming to see them. Would you say it's a lot easier working with older artists than it would be newer artists?
Of course, because these new artists, I'm sorry to say, but some of these are trash. I don't understand. I don't, why is your music being played on here? Like, all these independent artists that deserve that radio play are not getting it, but they're doing good on their own. And when these other artists that I grew up listening to, I can kind of freestyle what I'm going to say when I am going to introduce them on stage, because I can go with a story, and I could honestly say of a time or a year of an era, that's why it's easier, because if with these new artists, how can you relate to them? I'm sounding like an old lady talking to these 20-year-olds when I'm not young anymore,
Yeah.
And they're hella spoiled and entitled. You can't tell them that.
Right? Very hella spoiled and entitled.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the question about podcasting versus radio. Because of all the podcasts that we have coming out, do you feel that the podcast market is a little oversaturated, though?
It's very
as
oversaturated
to radio. And what is your opinion on within the next 10 to 15 years with the destiny of radio because of podcasts and streaming? Because music is so easily accessible through all these different apps and streaming platforms, nobody's really going to the radio. It's like watching music videos on MTV. It doesn't happen anymore. So where do you see the future of radio in the next 10 to 15 years if we keep going like this?
Well, when I was back in radio, I had already my podcast before podcast was a thing. And my podcast was called Conversations with Calipso. And it was just so that I can practice my voicing. And not only that, but it was, I would always talk about like relationship topics and like dating advice and stuff like that, because I was going through some things in my relationships or whatnot. And it felt very therapeutic. And I've always wanted, before radio and anything, I wanted to be a marriage counselor and help marriages, And I just never fell through with that because things happen, right? So I just felt that with my podcasting, it was like a therapy for me and helped me heal a lot of healing trauma that I had, And it got such a great response with a lot of people that were listening, like, oh my God, I'm going through a breakup and this helped me. God, this is so good. It made me cry because I was being transparent. I was sharing my story at the time, what I was going through, And again, I was doing podcasts before it was a thing. And then now fast forward to everybody doing a podcast about anything, about music, about crime, about food, about just anything. And I think the frustrating part about this is that they don't know how to talk when they're talking. To me, when I podcasted, I always had like background music. I pre-produced it. I made it sound very inviting because I have that producer background, that music director feel. And when I would hear these podcasts, it was so dry and boring. And literally, they're just talking about anything. And I think that's the problem. Nobody's talking about things that they should be doing their research on. You know what I mean? Right. Music is always going to be a great thing to talk about because music is always going to be around.
Right.
But with podcasting, it's going to take over. Radio, you already see it's not going to make it anymore. All this AI thing that's going on, people doing their shows from other markets. It's going to be here, but it's going to be less of it. And it's just the streaming and the podcasting. This is like you're streaming. This is like video. People are more tuned into this than actually just audio, right?
Right.
So it's heading into that direction. And I'm not mad at it because it's making you step up your game. Yeah. Now I can't do podcasting because now I got to get a video camera, Back when I just had my mic and my laptop and that was it. And I was just using the studio at work and that was it, But now it's like you got to step up your game because you got to look good, you got to have your nice microphone. you know, and you got to talk about something that's worth it.
Yeah, that's
It just appears that the word podcast is overused. I just feel like not everything is a podcast. Like, I personally don't believe that our show is a podcast.
To me, it's not, because it feels more like a video TV type of thing, right? What's the word for it?
Well, like radio station interviewing different guests
Yeah.
that are coming on for different reasons. Like, our specialty is music, and so is G-Lew show on Friday nights. But I just don't feel like we are a podcast. I feel like a podcast is a show that is just focused on a specific topic. Like I think it's called Invicted, where the girl she interviews people that have been in prison.
Oh.
But they have a story behind it. Like, they end up being like models or actors or whatever, or rappers. So I mean, that's more podcasting to me because it has its topic. But like this shows like this, and even like Hood Stocks too, in a way, I don't feel those are very podcasty.
Yeah.
I feel like they're more like actual just shows, and they call it a podcast just to kind of like to give it a name.
Well,
the word podcast is used so loosely now. I mean, that's what originally everything was supposed to be, podcast. So that's the title of what people think it's supposed to be. But like you said, everyone has a so-called podcast now, to where what, you know what I mean, the lines are blurred pretty much, you know what I mean? And like you said, oversaturated, because everyone can do it. So everyone thinks they can do it, but it's still a thin line between real either podcast shows or platforms, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? It's a difference to what official platforms are, and people just getting on here talking or just doing anything because they can, right?
Well, it's funny to me sometimes when you're looking at the podcast and you're getting all these influencers that are now hosts, and they're talking, but they're not even talking on the mic. They're like, dude, get your research done first. I can't even fucking hear you, for one. And what the fuck are you talking about?
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, when you come from a generation that's a little more structured, and you come from the world of radio and actual TV shows, where you have to actually do the work to get the show, to be able to get your producers and your guests and all these things. People, because of the internet, I feel like it's just become very saturated. It doesn't have any substance because anybody can grab a mic. Anybody could go on Amazon, pull some mics, and let's go. So it just, I feel like radio and all that stuff has lost its way. Even the radio stations are now doing like the streaming portions of their radio stations.
Yeah.
So at some point, they're just going to shut down all the stations, just go completely stream. That's what I feel.
Yeah. Well, if you notice, a lot of these radio stations are definitely putting their shows on the streaming podcast now. Oh, if you missed this morning's show, you can catch it on our streaming platform podcast, because they don't want you to miss it. Yeah.
Every station has their own podcast as well, or something you can stream as well besides the live radio. Yeah. It's a fact.
So
TV2 is going away. YouTube is TV ain't the same either, you know?
No, it's not.
I wanted to talk to you about when you were doing radio, you had this thing about critiquing music and artists that I want to talk about. So you are it's clear that you're a very blunt person, which I totally admire and respect.
Mm-hmm.
You have this thing when there was an artist that tried to bring their music and you didn't like it, you were like, so let's talk about.
There was a couple, actually. Man, you try to be very transparent when someone's coming. Okay, look, when you have a radio show and they want to get on your show and they're artists and they're like, hey, can you play my music on the radio? Not even, and they're messaging you and they're like, not even a hi, how are you? My name is so-and-so. You know, I'm sorry, but I was very blunt. I said, first of all, who is your PR? Where is your PR package? Where is your link so that I can listen to your music? Does my radio station fit your music? No, I'm not playing this kind of genre, but you want to, and you're not even, have you even listened to the show? You know, it was so frustrating because I tried not to go off on anybody, but just trying to be very professional as much as I could. And sometimes I would be like, oh, thank you, miss, so much for like being so awesome, for even reading this message, but sometimes when I don't know how we got these artists in the show or whatnot, you just have to be like, okay. And you just have to find something to talk about other than, maybe what they're working on. You just have to find other ways. You cannot ever say that this song sucked, first of all. You never want to say that, ever. You never want to say that they need to go back in the studio and work on stuff. You know what I mean? I had this one artist that was like, oh, if you needed someone to perform on season 2, I got you, this and that and this. And I said, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, you sound so horrible.
I mean, you gotta kind of miss the days of like the bump its or dump its.
Yeah, we should bring it back.
They should bring stuff like that back.
Yeah.
But now people are sensitive. You can't tell them like they like, I don't know. I guess like you said again, having a pocket or stuff where people feel is like more like, I don't know, like they like you said when it was on the radio before, they you had to take it. You know what I mean? The bluntness. You know what I mean? And they accepted it. Now if you do that, you never know. You know what I mean? People are real sensitive, and it's all type of drama comes with that.
But you got to have that one person in your team that's like, no, you're not walking out like that. You're not wearing that. You can't possibly be performing that. That sounds bad. Why do you want to have people in your team that's just going to tell you what you want to hear? You're doomed for failure. You're set for failure. But yet that person that's being really genuine and transparent with you, telling you that you suck.
Right.
Go to the studio. They're a hater by nature.
Yes. Yes.
You're automatically a hater. So let's talk about a little bit about your hosting for Chicano Elevate.
Well, it's the second year that I hosted the Chicano Hollywood Elevate conference. Every year they bring it. Oh my God, so good. Yeah. I'm at the backstage of it, but I want to be in the front. What's it called? I hosted with Davy Dave. If you don't know who Davy Dave is,
Davy, a legend. I know who Davy Dave is.
Dave. No, this is a different Davy Dave. This is Davy Dave. He is Mario Lopez's personal assistant. Like, this man is always working, always constantly doing things, and it's very inspiring. And I think Mario Lopez just got a star on the Walk of Fame not too long ago.
Yeah.
Just doing it for the culture. And I was like, Dave, congratulations on that fucking work that you do. He's like, oh, I'm so tired, and just hosting a conference like that is just so amazing, because I met so many great, talented people that you're networking with, that you're getting to know. And like, they're just got stuff coming up. They have all these projects. And if you weren't there, like, you missed out. And it was like a 2-day conference. And the cool thing about that is that I got to bring my son. I get to bring my son to a lot of these things. And I know, Deandra, I think you can relate to me on that part, because being able to bring your son / bodyguard with you is so priceless.
It's a good thing, and they're able to watch you grow, and you're able to teach them the game and how to become entrepreneurial, so they can be inspired if they choose.
For sure. I was bringing my son to the studio like since the age of like 3, and he's been exposed. When he met Big Boy, he would just go hang out with him in the studio, just so that he would like watch him for me, just those things, and he grew up around this limelight. And when he finally took the stage by himself for the first time in Cabo, I was like a very proud mom, because literally the apple did not fall too far from the tree, because this guy has a great voice and he's a people person. He's like the male version of myself, and I'm like, I better watch out.
Here is my question.
Remember that stuff too. Those kids, like I said, my dad did that with me, and to this day, that's why I loved it so much. They remember that. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Deandra.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Does your son understand what's going on
with what I do, like in all this?
Does he understand the importance of it, or does he like look at it? How old is your son, by the way?
He's actually 17 already.
Okay.
But he's been exposed to this since he was like 5 months.
Oh, since
You
he
know,
was little.
little, yeah.
So does it not seem like a big deal for him? And he's just like, oh, whatever.
You know what? Lately, he's been very like, oh my God, mom, this is so cool. Like I met Sugar Free, you know. Oh my God, mom, I met Rowdy Rax, you know. Like
Yeah.
he's actually more of a fanning because he's younger, of course. And I'm like, hey, cool, you know. He's the one. Oh, let me take a selfie. You know, he's actually very calm about it, but he knows he's got to keep his cool. He knows he has to be professional, just like me when we're out doing these like lowrider shows or concerts or conferences. He actually does know when to put the plug in whatever it is that he's doing if he's being too much, if that makes any sense.
No, it's funny. My son is the polar opposite of that.
Oh, he is.
Like I put him on stage where he can film Bone Thugs and Harmony. He was like,
yeah,
like,
sometimes my son is like that too. He's bad at it. I'm like, you're coming with me to record me, to take pictures, and we don't end up doing that.
No, he does it, but I'm just like, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. Like, I think I need you to know who you're filming here because it's like a huge deal. And he's like,
okay.
All right, he'll do it, but he's just like, I don't care about these books. So yeah,
Bone, he's a little young, probably like you said, how important they are, but him probably like, yeah,
you know, don't care about this.
Right.
So I think we've covered pretty much everything. If you can tell everyone where they can see your show.
Well, please download the Chicano Hollywood TV app. Follow me on Instagram, the Calypso Show. The Calypso Show with an I instead of a Y. And just click on the link on my bio to get the app. It's free $99 to watch the show. You can stream all 9 episodes. Again, on Instagram, The Calypso Show, or you can go to Chicano Hollywood TV and just download the app there. You can stream it, binge watch me. We are on Cox Cable in Phoenix. We are on Roku. We are on a lot of streaming platforms. We've had a lot of views. That's why we're gonna go forth with season 2. It's going really good, you guys. I would appreciate it if you guys do.
Now, are you excited, or can we also expect a season 3 anytime soon?
Oh man, can we just knock down season 2 first? No, I just know that I have to step up my game for season 2 because I'm going to be bringing this director that's in cinematography. And I'm sure I know you know him. I can't say names right now, but he's like, I'm doing your season 2. I'm directing your season 2. And I'm like, yes. He's a good friend of mine. I just know that he's going to keep me on my feet. And if I have to do 4 or 5 takes, I'm going to have to do 4 or 5 takes. I'm not going to be the one take type of person. Again, I have to step up my game. It's going to be hard. I'm nervous, actually.
You got this, girl. You got it.
Oh, absolutely you do.
Thank you.
So
please let us know when we can come to
yeah
live.
For sure.
That's gonna be awesome.
And Santa Fe Springs too.
Okay, for sure. I got you guys on lock.
Sure.
One more question about your career. Do you feel like you've reached the point of your career where you want to be, or is there anything else that you think that you wanted to do before you feel like you have reached the catapult of your career where you wanted to be from the beginning?
No, I'm not done. I'm never done because I'm always learning. Again, perhaps radio is not in my life anymore, but there's other elements, other things that I can do. Outside of this, I work in mental health. So I have a job where it's very stressful and I'm like, I don't know what I got myself into, but I'm always learning about mental health, and it's very, I think it's very important that's probably one of the reasons why I got out of radio, because of my mental health. It was very, very draining. And I want to do more of this talk show. I want to do other things. I want to make money while I'm sleeping. I want to have that residual income.
That part.
And we're running out of time, and it's just so hard and it's just so stressful. But we have kids, so we have no choice to give up. So we just We have to, pretty much. We have no choice. Radio was a great part of my life, and it no longer is part of it, but I always carry it with me. Yeah, we broke up, but I'll always have that special place in my life for radio, and I learned so much because that's what taught me for what to do in the Calypso Show. All that training, all that knowledge, all of that research, all of my, not only that, but my personality. I was shy before. My mom got me into acting because she couldn't stand how shy I was. And I'm like, Mom, look what you created. Now I want to do this and I want to do that. I have a background in acting and doing all these things. So obviously I stopped because I was doing other things. But honestly, like, I have to thank my mother for just creating that beast in me and wanting to just be in front of a crowd and set the vibe and just be happy and just be passionate about it.
And there's nothing like believing in your children. I mean, obviously, we see what believing in your children does.
Yeah, you want your children to be proud of you, and that's really the goal, for your children to be proud of you and to be better than you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Facts.
But congratulations again on being amongst the greats, the Cece Valencias, the Jesse Ortizes, the Luscious Liz's, even the Angie Martinez's of the world.
Oh my God, Angie Martinez. When I met her, the one that I met. Oh my God.
Legend.
She was doing something for New York, and I said, "You got your Angie Martinez." She's like, "Yeah, girl."
You met her?
I've met her. She's at
Oh my God, I am jealous.
I love her.
That's why you're top class.
She's a pioneer in radio. I still bump into him. What is it? Ladies' Night? No, what song is it? Ladies' Night?
Yeah, Ladies' Night.
Oh yeah, that was dope. I forgot she rapped.
Hell yeah. I know. No, I know that's the only song that she did. Yeah. She's a great interviewer. I studied her so much.
She has that legendary interview with Tupac that she never released. Maybe we'll get it one day.
Maybe she will one day.
Yeah.
But thank you again for coming on. And where can we find you on any social media platforms?
Please follow the Calypso Show on Instagram, the Calypso Show with an I instead of a Y. And I'm just right there. I could use your views. I could use your follows. That'd be great. And stay tuned for season 2.
And you're always more than welcome to come back if there's any other project that you want to promote. Thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Hey, thank you so much. This was incredible, and I love your spirit, like your personality, everything. You're like a flower, a breath of fresh air, like everything. Like, I love it, and I love the knowledge that you gave us tonight too. You know what I mean? Everything. Thank you so much.
Continue. You're welcome. Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Whew, wow, that was incredible. Incredible. Yes, incredible. Did it again, Deandra Chanel. That was great. Thank you for bringing her on. I love that. I really did.
Yeah, no, it's nice to have. She has so many different elements that we've never had. She's a female former radio DJ, host, and she has her own show. We've never had anybody who's had their own talk show on the show, so we've made a little bit of history tonight.
Right. That was incredible right there. Thank you. Shout out to her, man. Shout out to you, Deandra Chanel, the legendary Deandra Chanel. You are a legend in the making too. Say what?
I said it's just gonna get better from here.
That part.
Next week, I think I'll do a little bit of a giveaway today. Okay. We will be having Dolly, the rapper Dolly Girl, on our show next week.
Oh, that's gonna be.
Get ready to see the Straight Divine in the comments. We're gonna see.
That's what I thought about as soon as you said Dolly Girl. I thought about Straight Divine because she loves her some Dolly Girl. So
absolutely.
Shout out to her, man, for sure. Yeah. It'll be great. So tune in next week, y'all.
I'm sure we have quite the show next week.
Yeah, it's going down, y'all. So tune in next week. Dolly Girl will be live in the building. All the ladies, tune in and check that out. Follow Deandra Chanel on all platforms. Tell them where they can follow you at, Deandra.
They can follow me on Instagram at Deandra Chanel Designs and follow this journey that I have coming up because I am doing LA Fashion Week on Saturday. I will be a designer for LA Fashion Week, which has always been a dream of mine. Once we take over LA, we're hitting New York, we're hitting Paris. This is just the beginning.
I can't wait to get back because I'm gonna be on all them. Told you I'm gonna be telling you everywhere you go. I'm gonna be at all these. We're gonna be live at all these events. So I can't
We're
wait.
waiting. Okay, we've been saying this. You're supposed to be
Nah,
back
it's
this
going
summer.
down. We got some good news coming up. I'm not gonna say it just yet, but we got some real good news. Some more good news I found out today. So
Okay,
everything is in motion. Yes.
great.
Yeah.
So, congratulations in advance, wherever it is.
That part. That part. So we'll see you guys next week in an all new episode of Changing the Game. Follow Deandra Chanel. Follow me at the G-Lew Show, and follow our new Instagram page, Changing the Game Podcast. Right?
Yeah. So it's Changing the Game podcast YouTube.
That
Since
part.
there's another one out there, so make sure you put YouTube at the end. But it should come up. It should probably be like the second one once you start putting in Changing the Game.
That part in that order. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Changing the Game, G-Lew, Deandra Chanel. We are out of here, y'all. Shout out to our producer, DD Hairston, and once again to our guest, Calypso, Aranda, and we are out of here. Peace, y'all.
You were riding with your girlfriend. I could tell y'all never seen LA. I was thinking we could be friends from the energy you're sending me. Caught you looking from a distance. Oh, baby, really sparked my flame. I had to make a move quickly. Cause my dogs are out and all I want is you, yeah. We could burn the city down. Baby, now that you're here, let me show you how to West get down. Let's get down. Baby, it's your body for me. Cause girl, you got it. I can tell you from the country the way you got on that body. All the smoke in the air, they ain't got it like Cali. And really the type of shit these niggas act like they got it, should get Hollywood. I'm with my players, we don't pop unless we do a big stepper when I'm sliding, she see what it is. I can show you around the city, be your souvenir.
Oh, yeah, one more thing, y'all. This Friday night, make sure you tune in. We got the legend, Big Droops from Highland Park, Haters World, Hood Stocks. He's going to be here live on the premises, 9 p.m. Pacific, Friday night. So tune into that. See y'all. We out of here. Peace.